Welcome back to Point Blank. To share their views on Singapore's growing population, we have in the studio today Dr. Eugene Tan, Assistant Professor of Law at Singapore Management University, Stomp Star blogger Liao Julin, and Ong Chu Mei, a PR consultant.
Chu Mei has lived in many countries before, like Canada, Holland, Hong Kong, Australia. So she's in a good position to share with us, her different experiences in all these countries. But before all that, let's find out what people on the streets have to say.
Oh, I think it's getting very crowded here. I think constantly, because I live in Tampines, and then they are always upgrading of flats, and they're building a lot of new flats. So I feel it's getting very congested.
Yeah, it's getting crowded. Yeah.
Why do you think it's getting crowded?
Usually it's on the public transport. You can really feel it that it's getting crowded.
I think it's getting overcrowded at this moment, and I think out of 3 Singaporeans, 1 is a foreigner. So that means like 30%, is it, are foreigners now?
I think it's getting crowded here. You take bus, you take MRT, and you feel like a lot of places are so cramped. Even like hawker centres, they're all so cramped. I won't say they are all fully caused by foreigner, but majority, I suppose, yeah.
Well, the voices are loud and clear. People are feeling the squeeze.
That's right. It all trickles down to the everyday things, transport, public areas like malls, hawker centres, road congestion and all. So we are feeling the squeeze. Are you, Chun Mei, now that you're back in Singapore?
Well, compared to Sydney, yes, I would feel the squeeze. But in comparison to Hong Kong, it's not as crowded as Hong Kong.
I mean, Singapore is one of the most densely populated countries in the world. And I think, unlike the other mega cities, right, like New York City, we don't really have an hinterland, right, that Singaporeans can sort of escape to.
Well, Singapore is crowded. There's no getting away from that, and it is becoming more crowded. But like Chu Mei mentioned, there are places which are even more packed. New York City is one of them. Like Manhattan Island, for example, is only about 1/10 the size of Singapore, but it's got 1.6 million people or something like that. So it would be like Singapore having 16 million people. It's that crowded there.
Okay, one of the things we've seen is, one of the people we spoke with on the streets is the fact that even the shopping malls and public areas are getting crowded, not just public transport, right? So are we seeing a good decentralization of maybe like Orchard Road and all that? I'll ask Chu Mei later on as a shopper, but Eugene.
Well, I mean, certainly there is the effort to decentralize. So you have government officers, moving to the out of the central business district. But I think the numbers have grown in the last decade, and I think it is actually very hard, right, not to miss the fact that to feel that your space has been invaded, so to speak.
Many Singaporeans think that it's the fault of the influx of foreigners that we're so overcrowded in Singapore.
I think the foreigners are the first in line to get blamed when we try to rationalize, the crowdedness, the congestion and all. The foreigners seem to be a very convenient target, but I think it is the reality. You have 1 out of 3 persons on this island, who are not a citizen or a permanent resident.
Having lived in Hong Kong, going up the escalator, if you're in a hurry, everyone's just standing on the left side. Yes, it's the left side.
That's very nice of them.
That's very nice of them.
Yeah.
But if you're in a hurry in Singapore, everyone's standing in the middle of the escalator and you can't move. So there's a way of being considerate to others and giving space, which Singaporeans may not have learned yet.
We seem to be playing catch-up, right? So when you talk about the future MRT lines, many of them won't come on stream for another 5 to 10 years, right? So I'm just wondering whether, policymakers could have preempted.
But it looks like Singapore is experiencing growing pains. We are developing. The best solution for now seems to be, yes, adjustment.
But adjustment, on whose part? And that's the big question. Well, next up we have another red button issue, jobs and housing. Is foreign talent necessarily to blame for increased property prices and a highly competitive job market? Stay with us.